All right. Good Monday morning, everyone. Yes, I'm in a hotel room. I'm much darker. I am not this tan in person, I promise. But you guys listening to Author Talk with me, Amy, Russell, and our lovely guest today is Damon. Fern is out sick currently. So you guys, it's already been a crazy Monday morning. But what is Monday without a little hecticness? That's what I like to say. But okay, so I'm in a hotel room. Let me tell you my story. So I drove down to see my family in San Antonio yesterday. Josh has a conference here, a GPA Midstream Oil and Gas Conference. Please do not ask me what GPA stands for because I have no idea. But I went, I'm going to the evening, like, party networking things with him.
Oh yeah,
So,
you're the trophy wife
yes,
at night.
exactly. Oh my gosh, yes. So I'm playing trophy wife at the moment, you guys. Let me just tell you. So tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors, we do not have a session tonight because, and when you read my email, you guys that know me know my humor, and it said because I got to get my trophy wife on, which is true. So that's currently what I am doing. Right after this, I'm going to go see my kids, which are at my mom's. I've never been away from my kids, so this is a new experience for me. But it's been crazy, but it is
It's the
official. I
cost of
have like
being a
a
trophy
badge.
wife.
I have a badge, you guys, and everything, and I know nothing about oil and gas. So, I mean, and I'm not very good about keeping my mouth shut and not saying stuff. So it was a struggle, but I did it. Okay. I
That
did
is
it.
true. She does have trouble keeping her
Good
mouth shut.
morning, James. Good morning. We hope everybody had a great weekend. So, what did you guys do this weekend?
Damon, what'd
Well,
you do?
yeah. So I went to a wedding this weekend, which one of my younger cousins. I'm the oldest out of a group of a lot of cousins. So one of my younger cousins got married, and it was out in Pennsylvania, in a place called Memory Town. So it's very rustic, very set back in the woods. There was a lot of shade. She got married outside underneath these apple trees. It was a really nice time. We went in. I went in there with my sister and my girlfriend, and we had some food. We hung out, saw the immediate family and some friends, and it was a really great time. And while I was there, oddly enough, so I'm a couple hours away from my house, I run into the mayor of my town there, and
Oh,
I'm like,
that's cool.
Aren't you the mayor of?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, why are you here? It was just very weird. So apparently she's related to the groom. I'm related to the bride. And, we both met up, and I met with the mayor of my own town far away
That
from
can be
home.
good or bad.
Yeah, she's like, I've seen you before. I'm like, yeah, probably on the pictures in the post office. That's where you saw me. But she didn't catch it. So,
I like that joke, by the
yeah.
way.
Yeah, thanks. So, what did you do?
So we got on a plane and flew to Houston. I live in Atlanta to for the first birthday and the baptism of my genetically identical twin granddaughters.
Nice.
And it was an easy flight up. On the way back, we got taken out of the plane. It was one of those all day nightmare trying to fly back all day Sunday.
Oh, really?
Mm.
But uh, it made me think that of when I don't know if the viewers really appreciate, they probably do, uh, what it takes for us to have these shows every Monday morning. So we can have the podcast on the air for everyone that listens all week. And it's a constant stream of who's on the show that week, uh, who's available, and the surprise. Like today, we get this text at the last second because Fern has food poisoning,
Ooh.
and so we have to scramble. And but this is a part of our weekly and almost daily work, so we can have this podcast every week, and it's kind of a big part of our lives. Wouldn't
Yeah.
you say,
Yeah.
Amy?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun though. I don't know. I kind of live for like a little bit of chaoticness. I don't know if it's because I have two kids, three and two, and it's just chaotic constantly, but I seem to thrive in those environments. So, like, having to, like, not squirm and, like, get things last minute or figure things out. I don't know. I feel like that's like the moment for me to shine. Like, I do the best in those situations. But I mean, it is a lot to have different guests because we don't very often. And I actually, Russell, I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about you, Russell. I know. Don't get a big
Uh-oh.
head, but I was. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, wow, we haven't had very many like repeat guests. We generally have like new guests every week and month, and they're not a whole lot of them are repeats. And we've had this show, Russell corrected me last week, but we have had this show for 7 years. And so that's something to be super proud of because I don't know. I was thinking about it and I was like, wow, we haven't had that person on in like 4 years.
Well,
And
the
I was
average
like,
podcast lasts about, hey, James, and congratulations to James on his book launch last week. Amy, actually, that's what Amy does is book launches. She's going to do my book launch in a couple of months. And how did he do?
he did a wonderful. So we made it into the top 100 after a little bit of some hiccups. So I don't know if
There's
you guys
always
have
hiccups.
noticed. I know nothing goes smooth. I told you chaoticness should just be my middle name besides loopholes. But Amazon sometimes doesn't show the categories for your ebooks and things like that. And it becomes a hot mess when you promo stack it and you're just like, it's launch day. I'm so excited. Let's do this. And then they're like, oh, well, let's not show your category so you don't see your ranking. So we didn't get to do that until like the evening when we finally saw it. And I think he made it up to number 93, which was amazing for, not being able to see categories and freaking out. So it was so much fun. I love the pressure and things like that. So it's just become a thing. I love book launches. To me, it's a big celebration. But we have Mickey coming on. Welcome, Mickey.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Damon, how are you?
Hey, Mickey, how you doing today?
Hope you're okay with this, having your publicist on with you. Just
Well, it just changed the whole dynamics of the situation, but I think for the better, actually.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Hey, Amy. Hey, Russell. How are you guys?
Hey, man, this was a surprise. It was Amy's
Surprise!
surprise.
We're here.
I have tricks up my sleeve sometimes, Russell.
I'm
Sometimes.
impressed.
You know
and
what,
this-
Russell? When Amy calls, always Mickey listens.
It's like
That's
the
how it
Batman
is.
call. It's like the Batman call. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying?
Red
And with
phone.
the fact that Damon's here, I'm even more excited because I don't get to share my time with my clients ever. So this is like a historic moment for me, kind of, in a surprise way. So yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah, our interactions are usually very, very quick and
Yeah.
happening. Although they happen quite a few times a day, they are fleeting. We exchange of an email, exchange of a call, and then we're done. But
So
Well,
thank
Damon,
you all
would
for
you
your
not-
opportunity. Thank you all for your opportunity today. It's good.
Damon,
Thank
would you not surprise Mickey as succinct? Because, like, I'll send him these emails and his answer will come back one word: no, yes, no, yes, fine.
yeah, okay. So succinct and to the point. But I mean,
Kind of hurts my feelings.
does it? Well, I appreciate it because like I know I'm not as busy as Mickey, but I am busy.
No, you are busy. You're busier, probably.
I don't. Okay, well, I don't know, but I appreciate it because it's not a lot to wade through, and it's like, okay, yeah, great, you got the answer I'm looking for. On to the next.
We want to welcome the people that are listening to us on our podcast. Most people hear this, they don't watch it, but they can listen to us on the podcast. We've been rated in the top 10 of book podcasts in America, which we are humbled and shocked about. That people want to listen to our coffee talk on Monday mornings with the new author. And Damon,
Yes.
well, before we get to that, Amy, where can people find us on the podcast?
Oh, yeah. So you can find us anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. So Apple, Google, Good Pod, Stitcher, on Spotify, Amazon Music, anywhere that you can listen to a podcast, you guys can hear us. And like Russell was saying, we are just so humbled to know that you guys are listening to us because we honestly just do this for fun. And like I mentioned earlier, I have started reminiscing about when we first started. Russell likes to always bring up the story. I was not on the screen. I was the person holding the phone, live streaming. And so we've come a long way. And from that, finding new guests, hearing more amazing authors and their work, publishing companies and their stories and how they began to write and what really drove them to write has been our driving factor because we are very passionate about authors and we love hearing those stories. So with that all being said, You guys know how to get in touch with us. If you would like to be on the phone on the show, make sure you reach out to me however you wish to. But remember, if you're reaching out to me on LinkedIn, I am currently backed up on messages. It's been a whirlwind of a weekend. I will get to you. I promise I will message you back if you're interested in being on the show. Just give me a little bit of grace on that, but I will get to you. I promise. It's been a crazy Monday morning, you guys. But Damon, we were talking earlier and you said that you're a writer. You also are a publishing company. So tell us a little bit about how you got into writing.
Okay. Well, I'm a horror author. I would say I'm a speculative horror author because I like to take scenes and I like my stories to take place in a world that's maybe not exactly what our world is, parallel to ours, alternate possibilities, or possibilities that could be taking place within our world, but we just don't know about it. I I always had a love for writing, and I started at a young age, like dabbling. Like I went to see movies like Jaws and Return of the Living Dead, and I'm like, oh, these things need part twos. So I went and I would like write these part twos of these books, and it's from a 10-year-old's point of view, or however old I was at the time, and that's kind of where my muse started. And then I fell in love with music. I learned how to play the guitar. I learned how to play the bass, and I started writing lyrics. So, like telling a story in like 3 minutes or 5 minutes was my mo at the time. And then I chased that rock and roll dream for a really long time, till I was like, okay, well, this dream is probably not going to pan out. I still love to do it, still love to play, but my life kind of took a turn. Um, I fell onto some dark times in my life, and I had a struggle with addiction that lasted a long period of time, and it actually ended up with me winding up in the prison system for a few years. And while I was there, I said, what did you do? What is going on that your life has become this? And I had the opportunity to start taking college classes while I was there. So I gravitated to literature and English composition. And I went through Rutgers University and I got a 4.0 and I did great in all my classes. And I started writing again. And I started writing horror. And I started writing horror about the things that I was seeing in the system and kind of taking them into different aspects, marginalization, racism, homophobia, in this sense of horror stories, because these are the horror stories that plague our society. So, while I was there, I got this chance to recover. I'll have 10 years clean and sober this
Yay!
Halloween.
Nice.
Uh,
Congratulations.
thank
That's
you very much.
amazing.
I got the chance to get a college education, and I got the chance to get a second chance and pursue what I love to do. So now getting out, that whole getting out thing was wow. Like you don't have enough time for me to tell you all about this, but I got out, I started submitting my stories, I started trying to get published, and my sole focus was let's get those rejection letters. And they
Nice.
started coming. I got those rejection letters. So
Yeah.
yeah, so and then I started getting accepted. And then I started winning contests. And then I
Wow.
got a publishing contract. And yeah, so I think my story might be a little different than the way most authors go about it. I certainly wouldn't recommend taking the route I took, but for me, there's a lot of inspiration, and I feel like I have a firsthand uh, conversation with pain and with
Yeah.
darkness that allows me to have a legitimate voice to write horror.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you think that? How do you think that your magazine articles? Could you go into that a little bit more? What type of articles did you write? Where were you first accepted, and how do you think that got your first publishing contract?
So the first story that got accepted was called Something in the Air.
Oh,
Um, as I was coming to the end of my term in the system, I was in a halfway house and COVID-19 hit.
Oh.
And, I was just getting the chance to go out the door and go to college every day. And we got shut down and we got put under quarantine. And COVID ran through the prison systems. So, we had a lot of guys who were passing away in the building that I lived in. And there was a lot of really it was straight out of a horror book. Um, so I wrote a story called Something in the Air, which is about two men who have gone from the prison system into a halfway house when a global pandemic hits. And
Mm.
actually, their pandemic was much worse than what we went through, where it's a world end game situation. So I
Mm.
submitted that to a magazine called the Green Shoe Sanctuary, and they accepted that, and I was elated. I was ecstatic. I couldn't believe it, and they released it in a two-part uh, series. And shortly after that, they had a contest for a summer prompt. Write a story about someone who doesn't know they're dead. Uh, and I
Oh.
wrote a story called "The Dead Girl," which actually focuses around a couple who are struggling with addiction. And yeah, it's very tragic. It's sad. Um, and I got a third place finish in their summer writing prompt contest.
Wow.
Yeah, and then that I actually was able to present that to the Horror Authors Guild, and that won the second place award for best short story of last year.
Wow.
Amazing.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
what an incredible story. I mean, you're right, horror and, some dark things, but I mean, I just talking to you now, I wouldn't picture it. Like you're just, I don't know, to me, you're just like bubbling, just like, yeah, I'm totally gonna do this. And so that's amazing though, because those stories I feel like are so relatable. And so it's just like, I could picture that, but winning those awards and really turning your life around, I mean, that's just an achievement in of itself, man. So congratulations. I think that's amazing. So
Thank you.
you kind
You
of
know, Wayne,
mentioned, you got your first acceptance letter when you submitted. So who was your first publisher?
Ooh, okay. So I really don't want to mention that because my first
Okay.
publishing deal, no, I'm going to talk about it. Because, once I start talking, I don't shut up.
Oh
So,
no, that's fine. We've had all kinds. We've had
yeah.
horror stories to avoid. I mean, it's just nothing.
I,
You can
I
say
can
whatever you
verify
want.
that too. By the way, it doesn't. He doesn't, and it's good because he has so much information to give out. So it's great.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just
So
want to make
please,
sure, as long as
Damon, go
you're,
ahead. No,
yeah, as
that's
long as
amazing.
you're comfortable doing it. I don't
Oh
want you to
no,
be
no.
feeling
My life is
uncomfortable.
an open book, definitely. Um, So, I had these stories land, and I'm like, okay, hey, this is. I had a master plan. When I was in
Yeah.
the prison system, I'm like, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to get rejection letters, then I'm going to get magazines, then I'm going to get an indie publishing deal, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to, so I'm following the steps. So I had the story Abigail, okay, um, which you look at the cover and it's a crib with an ominous lighting about it, so we know there's a baby involved.
Right.
So I put together a query letter that I would send out to the publishers, and I said, please take care of my story Abigail. I am no longer able to care for her myself. She needs a good home. Her mother and I are very sad to be letting her go, but we know that you will provide a good home for her. Please don't feed her milk. She's very lactose intolerant. And I sent that to a publisher, and they're like, this is the best query letter I've ever gotten. I really want to read this story. So, um, company picked it up, gave Abigail a chance. And, unfortunately, things didn't end really well with with the company that I was with. but
Right.
it did end very well. So they weren't doing too good as a business, so they went out of business within 6 months of Abigail being released.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
in that time, though, Abigail got nominated for Best Cover and Best Novelette of the Year. Um, once they went out of business, I said, well, how hard can it be to open a publishing company? Mhm. I probably should have thought about that a little more than just going right in and opening a publishing company.
Yeah.
But what I did was I opened up Last Waltz Publishing. Um,
Okay.
that's my label. If you want to check us out, we're at www.lastwaltzpublishing.com. Um, and I used it to put out my own books. So I re-released Abigail by re-releasing Abigail. Now she's out, re-released in 2021 again in October. Um, and so she, under Last Waltz Publishing, Abigail got nominated for Best Short Story for a Splatterpunk Award.
Nice.
So she got to get multiple nominations. And the reviews have been like really so overwhelmingly positive. Um, I'm really humbled by the readers and the reviewers who have taken their time to read this story, and it really touches on something that I was facing while I was in the system. Although it's wrapped up in a nice little bundle, and you look at the cover, it's a looks scary. But I would say, this is one of those books, do not judge it by its cover, because there's a message in there. It's going to take you somewhere that you don't expect to go. And I think you'll be really happy once you get there. And a lot of people go, "Oh, well, man, I cannot believe you did that to me. How did I not see that coming?" And I'm like, "Well, that's the
Yeah.
old card trick." Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this book a little less horror and a more of a message?
The message is there. It's yeah, I mean the horror is that, when our main character Adrian, so I'll tell you a little bit about Abigail. Adrian Billard grew up in the South. He's a queer man. He has been marginalized and bullied as a child, and it's affecting him now as an adult. Like, he does not feel like he's ever going to find happiness. He's doing the online dating thing, and it just is not working out. And he's still carrying the scars from his past, from school, elementary school, and high school. Then one night he comes home, and there is a package on his doorstep, and he opens it up, and these eyes stare up at him, and they're reptilian eyes, and they're purple, and they blink and they flash, and like silver washes all over him. And he parts the cover, and he sees the scales, and he sees the horns, and he says, "This is the most beautiful baby I've ever seen in my life."
Mm.
And he goes and he takes care of Abigail, and it changes Adrian's life. Um, so there's a lot that transpires in the 60 pages that is Abigail. Horror that points to horrors that we know of in our own world, and messages about racism, bigotry, homophobia, um, all in a. I think you feel good at the end of this. It's not a gripping, gory horror story, but it is science fiction and it is speculative horror. I don't know if I explained that well enough, but I
I
hope
think you
I did.
explained it very well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you.
so, where do you go next? What do you do next?
Mm. So I've had quite a few releases, and I have been doing releases with other authors. Um, I've gone into the gothic area. I've gone into a little more extreme. Um, right now, I am feverishly working on a series that is near completion. When I first wrote it, it was 500,000 words in length.
Oh, wow.
And I've edited it down to 325. I know that's a serious edit, but I wrote it in the halfway house on something called the Alpha Pro. So you only see like 3 lines of text at the time. So I kind of wrote like the same line over quite a few times, you know. So
Okay.
it needed a lot of editing. But the story's called The Oceanox, and it takes place in 1979 in a small mountain town the week before Halloween. Um, Troy Fisher's having a Halloween party, but a few of his friends cannot make it because they're sick. And we soon find out that it's much more than a case of the flu as the children in town start dying. And then it spreads to the adults, and we learn that there's something out there after the people in the town of Garrett Grove. And it takes place in 1 week's time. It'll be 4 books that I plan to release in rapid succession next year, in the 4 months following up to Halloween. So I'm going to start count back from then. My brain can't do math at the moment, but we're going to start.
Math is hard. Math is hard.
Yeah.
It is my greatest weakness, man. So I feel you. I understand.
So in like July, I'll put out the first one, August, September, and then have the last one come out. So yeah, I'm redrafting, I'm editing, and as soon as probably within the next month, it goes to the real editor to, go through this for like five months and make sure it's all ready to go. And that's actually been my, if Stephen King has The Stand, this is my stand.
Nice.
This has been something I've been working on for a long time. And that's not the only project going on. There's a lot more.
Oh, I believe it. But the way that you're strategizing that is genius. I mean, I wish everybody listening, this is how you strategize things. Like, because you're just like, you wanted your final one to be out in October. So here's how you're going to do it. And you have them already written. So then you can release it. So your readers aren't waiting for years, right? And I think that is just genius. Like, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my gosh, you get it. That's amazing. Like, your book launches each month leading up to it. Yes, yes. Thank you.
There is a reason, Amy, why I signed Daemon. And it's for this very, very reason that I wanted to work with him, because this conversation that we're having, sorry to interrupt you guys, but this conversation we're having right now is exactly what we had when we first had our consultation. And the fact of the matter is, he does have a plan, and it's going to be a very successful launch and plan all the way through. I didn't know the timeline until right now, so I'm floored and ecstatic about that. But just, Daemon, thank you for being proactive, and thank you for having a vision. And really, end of the day, thank you for having a plan too, because not every author does. And kudos to you, and full respect to you for doing that.
Thank you.
That's my 2 cents.
I appreciate that. I am, if anything, I find myself obsessive, over planning, but you cannot over plan in this business, but,
No.
because things still fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
What I'm hoping to do as a lead up is I have a collection of 15 short stories, which all have a little bit to do. They're my horror short stories. There's a novella in there. There's 2 memoirs that are actually humorous takes of my life, and they all have to do with a little bit of my own anxiety. So, I'm hoping that early next year this compilation comes out titled Manxiety. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
How's that for succinct, Russell? Did I pass the equation that time, or what's the deal there?
I think you should be a little less succinct when you're on a podcast where you're supposed to talk.
Oh,
So
Lord.
you are improving as far as the podcast goes.
Okay, thanks for
You're
that
moving
backup,
up,
bro.
Mickey. You're moving up, man. You're moving
Well,
up.
you called me, so you might regret that later. I don't know. We'll see.
No.
No, I think it's
Oh my
great.
gosh, no. These is that's what I mentioned, earlier today is that, I do really well in chaotic situations trying to find it. And like now I have like my travel mic. So if I don't sound as good, you guys, that's why we're testing the waters with this mic.
Yeah.
But Damon, I would love to know, what is your writing process like? Like, do you plot out and then you write your story, or do you just let the words, go onto the page? What is your writing process?
Yeah. So, yeah, what I guess the terms that they use in our business, are you a pantser or a plotter?
Right,
And
yeah.
and I am not just one. It's a mixture of two. But
Okay.
usually when it's a short story, like I just start writing and it just starts
Nice.
coming, and it's sort of like I'm tapping into this telephone line that's being transmitted from somewhere. And I'll get to a point, like I'll start with a little idea. I'm like, oh yeah, I'd really like to write a story about this, and I'll write it, and then it'll be like, okay, what happens? And there needs to be a little more. So I kind of usually sleep on it, pray on it, dream about it, and a second idea will come, and I'll be like, oh, that's what happens. And usually it's the fusion of the two that actually makes a story and makes a twist happen. So I've been told that I'm have the ability to surprise the readers and give them twists that they don't expect.
Nice.
Well, even if you're a plotter, Damon, don't you think that the characters in the story comes alive and tells its own story in your mind as you're working on it?
I definitely do, and I think it's it has to be character driven, and for me, even more than character driven, it has to be emotive. Um, I really need emotion, and I need to, if I'm writing a story and I get to that scene and I'm tearing up, um, I feel like I've tapped into that point that I really need to, whether it's fear or it's anger or it's sadness. You need to connect with the characters that I'm doing, and I hope so, because a lot of the characters that I write are based from either people that I've met myself, my family, or stories I've heard. I I would say, the big story that the series, it started out as a short story. I'm like, hey, I want to write a short story about the emotion that you feel during Halloween as a child. For me as a boy growing up, like Halloween was just this enamored feeling of mystery and spookiness and oh my God, I could feel it in the air. So
Yeah.
that was this prologue that I wanted to write, and then I just kept writing, and then I just kept writing, and I'm like, this is not a short story. What is going on here? So I would come up with like a scene or a couple scenes, and then I would say, okay, I've got that on paper. Now, what's 20 things that could happen? And I would write down 20 things that could happen next in this story, because it's, I'm dealing with a whole town full of characters. So it goes from the sheriff to the children to the geologist who works at the quarry to, a museum director. So it's all over. So, I would say, well, this could happen, or this would happen in real life. The sheriff would throw his hands up in the air and go out drinking or whatever. And I took like the five most logical scenes that would happen in a real life situation, circled them, and then made them the scenes that would happen next. And then when I finished writing those scenes, I'd write down 20 more. So I was doing it by the seat of my pants, but I was also plotting, and I kind of knew where this was going to end. I just had a lot of journey to tell, and then backstory and, emotion, and get you into the head of these casts of characters that I am.
Hey, Mickey, I have a question for you as Damon's publicist. For
Publicist, yeah.
considering what you can tell, what plans do you have or hopes do you have about Damon?
Well, now that we know he's got 4 books coming out in a monthly succession for next year, leading up to October, we can do multiple reviews, multiple scenes, multiple local where he lives coverages, and well, there's going to have to be, sorry, Amy, but there's going to have to be an article in Top Shelf now for sure, in some way, shape, or form, and we'll probably focus on all 4 books in that magazine too. There's lots of different things we're going to do, Russell. I'm not going to give away everything, but those are some of the things we will be doing, and we'll be focusing on a whole bunch of different areas that aren't going to be just horror. There'll be other things too. So,
Mickey, you mentioned Top Shelf magazine. Would you tell the listeners that haven't heard our other shows about it what it is?
Me and Amy took it over in May. It's a major literary magazine that's been focusing promotion around libraries, publishers, things like that. They've had people like Brad Thor, Brad Metzler, Steve Barry, John Land, Toscali, who's my client, Robert J. Sawyer, who's also my client, on the covers. And we really want it to be like a book community magazine, celebrating the book community as a whole, both traditional and indie author coverages. We want to have bookstore coverages, reviews, guest posts, interviews, obviously. And Amy, you'll correct me on the numbers, but I believe we have over 6,100 subscribers with all big 4 publishers represented, plus 30 libraries who subscribed initially. And then if everything comes to fruition, I can't say for sure that this is going to happen, but our main goal, hopefully, is to get it into print fashion maybe next year and distribute it through Chapters Indigo and Barnes & Noble as well. We're in the process of doing that. But again, it's not just a creative edge focused magazine. There is going to be other interviews and other things from a book community standpoint. Having said that, after hearing Damon's elaborate plans for next year, he is going to be featured in the magazine, should he want that, in a number of different months. So that's what the goal will be.
That sounds great.
Did I pass, Amy? Did I pass, Amy? Is that it? Did I leave anything out?
No, you're good. I don't think so. I think you're good. You ran a lot of numbers, Mickey. It's a Monday morning, man. But no, your numbers.
I've been up since 4 a.m. Sue me.
Mickey, you gotta sleep, man. You gotta sleep. Okay, 4 a.m. Now you gotta sleep, man.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine. But I want to know, Damon, and you don't have to answer this, but my mind kind of goes, and I don't have a filter, so it's one of those things.
She doesn't, Damon. I can attest.
That's fine with me.
I just feel like we are like BFFs, man. We need to just meet in real life. If I ever travel out of Texas, I'm gonna come visit you. But I want to know, why the horror genre? Is it easy for you to write? Is it therapeutic, or why did you dabble in that genre?
You know what? And it is easy for me to write in that, and it's probably being, my earliest passion, because I grew up, reading books like Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I grew up watching like the black and white Draculas and Frankensteins and Night of the Living Dead. I remember going to see Jaws in the movie theater. So, the scares always got me. And then I started reading Stephen King, and then I started reading Dean Koontz, so those big things. And now, I've tapped into the indie horror community, and it's like I'm a kid again, because there's all this material. I have a bookcase full of books that I buy from other authors in my community, and they're, these people are brilliant. And that's also why I wanted to open up a publishing company, which, if I may just talk about that for a second. So, I opened up Last Waltz Publishing, and I've taken on a couple authors of my own, and it's got to strike me, So I have a mystery writer. I have, a girl who's very gothic from Seattle, who I have under my label. And this month I have Heather Miller, who I just signed, and her book Tales My Grandmother Told Me is stories that her grandmother told her growing up in Oklahoma, uh, urban legends, little ghost stories. So that's for pre-sale now, and it's my first book to go wide with my publishing company. So it's available with Barnes and Noble, and it's available on Amazon, and it's coming out the 27th. And October 8th, I've put together a Gothic anthology that I'm a part of. I have a story in it called Devlin's Manx, which is a Gothic house, haunted house story. And I have 14 other authors who, from the indie community, who are some really good, well-known names. I have Jay Mazer, Joe Kaplan, James G. Carlson, Michael J. Moore. I have Heather Miller's also on that. Everybody on my label is on that. That's coming out October 8th. And I'm definitely excited because I've always wanted to put out a Gothic anthology. So that's also on the agenda too. I also have my sister is in the book too. So
Oh, I love
yeah,
it.
yeah, I'm really excited. I've got blurbs, but it's being blurbed by Lee Murray. Also, we have Kenzie Jennings is writing a blurb for this. R.J. Rolls. So we've got some people in the community who I think are some reputable names who are working on this, and it's got a foreword by Candace Nola, who's actually making quite a name for herself in the industry as well.
Damon, what's a blurb?
So the
Tell people
blurb
what-
was, at the beginning of the book or on the back of the book is the story. So the book is called These Lingering Shadows. These Lingering Shadows is a breathtaking look at Gothic horror told in a whole new translucent light. Lee Murray, winner of the Bram Stoker Award. So Lee Murray would say, she didn't say that. I just made that up off the cuff. Pretty talented, huh? And that would, be their little blurb to promote the book. I give them a copy early. They read it. They hopefully say something really nice about it. And I use it as a promotional advertising piece.
I love it. I love it. That is amazing. That's like one of the smartest things you can do, besides like editorial reviews and stuff like that. So that's amazing. So wow, you have so many like cool things going on, and I love why you write in horror. I mean, I love reading that, and for me, the gorier the better. For me, I don't know why. I'm just a violent person, I guess, on the inside. I don't know.
I can attest to that, Dana. Just FYI.
It's just one of those things. As I sit here, I'm like hot pink, right? You wouldn't picture it, but I love those. But I love like the psychological thrillers and suspense thrillers and stuff like that. So when you were talking about the twists and turns, I love watching movies like that because I like to guess. Oh, this is totally going to happen, and when it doesn't, for me, it's just one of those like, wow, this was such an amazing movie, and so I stick to it. And it's kind of the same with books. Like, if you can turn it and twist it and I can't guess where you're going, I'm going to remember that book. And so I love that you do that in your books. Like, I just think that's the greatest compliment people can tell you is like, I did not see that coming, because I love to be like, oh, I totally nailed that movie. So when I don't, I will watch that movie again. And I have like, it sticks in my mind. I remember it. And I love horror films. So before we wrap up here, because Russell's my time Nazi, he'll start counting down here in a little bit. What is your favorite all-time horror film? I know you have to pick just one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And I'm gonna call it horror too. It's Jaws. It's the original Jaws. Because first of all, I mean, the guys the three men in that movie, are so classic and so perfect in the roles they played. But what it encapsulates what horror is to me, and it's show don't tell. You don't see the shark. You don't see the shark for a very long time, and when you do, it's a couple seconds at a clip. What you do see is someone in the water scared, and you hear that dun 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 dun, and that to me is suspense. That's horror. And that's what I like my stories to do. I like
Yeah.
to build the suspense with the atmosphere, with tension and mood, and with emotion, and then, then I'll deliver a little bit of blood. I
Yeah.
also have stories that deliver a lot of blood too.
Okay.
We can
Nice.
go, and actually after telling me what you like, I have a book to direct you to
Yes.
when we talk. That's got all that you're
Absolutely.
looking for. Yeah,
Yes,
love it.
absolutely. See, so Jaws is totally to me a horror film because they will play that film, at least here in Texas, they will play that and you can like sit in your tube and stuff on the water and they play it at night. And they'll have the music, but they'll have things in the water and stuff, and you don't see it because it's at night. And so to me, I feel like it is a horror film. And so yeah, I totally classify as that or at least suspenseful, right? So mine are like the OG Freddy Krueger movies, like the
Mm,
originals, because it was more of like for me, you don't realize you're in a dream. And we've all had dreams where we feel like they're real, right? So I don't know. I love those. And I don't know, it's weird, but I find like that song sometimes is soothing at night. I don't know why it gets stuck in my head. So I love like the old time classic horror films, like that one, Halloween,
yeah.
just those are so nostalgic for me. I love to watch those. So that's what made me fall in love with horror, suspense, and thrillers and stuff like that. But you guys, this has been such a fun conversation. Damon, you're gonna have to come back and talk and just it's been so much fun. I love it. I love getting to do these. You are welcome back anytime, especially when you got, your 4 books coming out. Make sure that you come back and talk to us about it. We would love to talk about it and help promote however we can. But you guys remember tonight I am doing that little trophy wife thing. So we are not doing a meeting tonight for Through the Eyes of Authors, but we will be back next week. So make sure that you come and join us. But until next time, you guys have a great Monday and a great rest of your week, and we'll catch you all